All right, so today let's talk procrastination.
Okay.
We are diving deep into The Procrastination Cure by Damon Zahariades. And this book is a goldmine for
Yeah.
anyone who's ever felt that familiar tug of, I'll do it later.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get that feeling, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the fascinating thing is procrastination, it isn't just laziness or a lack of willpower.
Right.
There's a whole fascinating science behind it.
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. Damon Zahariades starts the book
Mm-hmm.
with this idea that we're actually wired to procrastinate. It's like a built-in feature of the human brain. Can you unpack that a bit for us?
Well, imagine your brain as having two distinct selves, your present self
Okay.
and your future self.
Got it.
Your present self
Mm-hmm.
is all about seeking immediate pleasure and avoiding discomfort.
Right.
So that Netflix binge sounds way more appealing right now than tackling that complex project due next week.
Right. It's like our present self is saying, let's have fun now and deal with the consequences later.
Yeah.
But then our future self is left holding the bag, stressed and scrambling to meet that deadline.
Our brains tend to overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue future ones. It's called temporal discounting, and it's a big part of why procrastination is so hard to overcome.
That makes so much sense. So it's not just that we're lazy, it's that our brains are playing tricks on us,
Yeah,
making those short-term pleasures seem way more tempting than those long-term goals.
precisely. And that's why simply relying on willpower to overcome procrastination
Yeah.
often fails.
Yeah.
We need to understand these underlying psychological mechanisms and develop strategies that work with our brains, not against them.
Okay. So we've got this present self versus future self battle going on, and our brains are wired to favor immediate gratification. So how do we actually start to shift that balance and get things done?
That's where Damon Zahariades' three-pronged approach comes in. He breaks down the battle against procrastination into three key areas: getting started, managing your time effectively, and controlling your environment.
I love frameworks like this. It feels like we're building a toolkit for tackling procrastination from every angle. So let's start with the first challenge, getting started. What are some of the key insights from the book on overcoming that initial inertia?
One of the most powerful techniques is the eat the frog method, which you briefly mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about tackling the most dreaded task on your to-do list first thing in the morning.
Okay, so imagine your to-do list is literally a pond full of frogs. And each frog represents a task. We're not just picking any frog. We're going for the biggest,
Yeah.
ugliest,
Right.
most intimidating one first.
Right.
What's the psychology behind why this works so well?
Well, by getting that daunting task out of the way early, you create a sense of accomplishment. That propels you through the rest of the day. It's like that initial hurdle is cleared. And everything else feels easier in comparison.
Right? It's almost like tricking your brain into thinking, well, if I survive that, I can handle anything.
Right.
But what if that frog is a really massive task, something that feels completely overwhelming? I know I've definitely been there.
That's where the 10-minute rule comes in. Even for those huge, daunting projects, commit to working on it for just 10 minutes. Often that initial 10 minutes is enough to break through the resistance and build momentum.
It's like dipping your toes in the water before diving in head first. It makes the task seem less intimidating and more approachable. And, sometimes those 10 minutes turn into 20, then 30. And before you know it,
Yeah.
you're making real progress.
Exactly. It's all about getting over that initial hump. And another great tip is to align your tasks with your natural energy levels. Are you a morning person or a night owl? If you're most alert and focused in the morning, tackle those complex, high-energy tasks first. Save the more mundane tasks for when your energy dips.
So it's about working with our natural rhythms instead of fighting against them. This is already starting to feel like a personalized procrastination plan. This is so helpful. It's like we're hacking our own biology to work in our favor. Okay, so we've covered some great tactics for getting started. What's next in our procrastination busting toolkit?
Well, once you've mastered the art of starting, the next challenge is managing your time effectively. And Damon Zahariades offers some really insightful strategies here, starting with the idea of a streamlined to-do list.
I'm all ears. I feel like my to-do list is constantly overflowing.
Yeah.
How do we actually streamline it and make it work for us instead of against us?
The key is to prioritize ruthlessly. Instead of aiming for a mile-long list of tasks, focus on identifying your top 7 priorities for the day. That's right, just 7.
7. That sounds almost impossible. But I can see how that would force you to really focus on what truly matters. How do we decide which tasks make the cut?
Think about your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Which tasks are essential for moving you closer to those goals? Those are the ones that should be at the top of your list. And be honest with yourself about which tasks are truly necessary and which ones can be delegated, deferred, or even eliminated.
So it's not just about creating a list, it's about strategically aligning those tasks with our overall goals.
I love that. And I think a lot of us fall into the trap of multitasking, thinking we're being super productive by juggling a million things at once. What does Damon Zahariades say about that?
He debunks the myth of multitasking pretty effectively. Research shows that our brains aren't actually wired to focus on multiple complex tasks simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
When we try to multitask, we end up switching our attention back and forth rapidly, which actually reduces our overall efficiency and increases errors.
So instead of spreading ourselves thin, we should be aiming for deep focused work on one task at a time. And when you truly focus on one task at a time, you'll not only produce higher quality work, but you'll also experience less stress and mental fatigue.
That's a win-win in my book.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about getting started and managing our time. What's the third piece of the puzzle when it comes to conquering procrastination?
The third and final element is controlling your environment. Damon Zahariades emphasizes the profound impact our surroundings have on our ability to focus and be productive.
That makes sense. Think about trying to work in a chaotic, cluttered space with constant distractions buzzing around you. It's like fighting an uphill battle against your environment.
Exactly. So the key is to create a workspace that supports concentration and minimizes distractions. This might involve having a dedicated workspace, whether it's a home office, a quiet corner of a library, or even just a specific table in your living room.
So it's about creating a physical boundary that signals to our brain, okay, it's time to focus now. What about those pesky digital distractions? I feel like my phone is constantly vying for my attention.
He offers some great strategies for taming those digital distractions. Simple things like putting your phone on airplane mode or using website blockers can be incredibly effective.
It's like giving ourselves permission to disconnect and create a space for deep, focused work. And, sometimes just the act of putting your phone in a drawer, out of sight, can significantly reduce the temptation.
Absolutely. And if you're working on a computer, try closing all unnecessary tabs and applications. Minimize those visual distractions and create a clean, distraction-free digital environment.
I love these practical tips. It's amazing how small changes in our environment can have a huge impact on our ability to focus and get things done.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like procrastination is about more than just bad habits or a distracting environment. It's like there's a deeper mental game going on.
You're right. Damon Zahariades doesn't shy away from addressing the psychological aspects of procrastination. In fact, he dedicates a whole section of the book to exploring the mental game of procrastination and how our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions can either fuel or hinder our progress.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's unpack that a bit. What are some of the key insights he shares on the mental and emotional side of procrastination?
One of the core ideas is that procrastination is often linked to fear of failure. We put things off because we're afraid of not meeting our own expectations or the expectations of others.
That resonates with me. I know I've definitely procrastinated on projects in the past.
Oh.
Because I was terrified of not doing a good enough job.
It's a common experience, and when we're in that fear-based mindset, we tend to focus on all the things that could go wrong, which only reinforces the procrastination cycle.
So it's like our fear is fueling our procrastination. And then our procrastination is fueling our fear. It's a vicious cycle. How do we break free from that?
Damon Zahariades emphasizes the importance of challenging those negative thoughts and cultivating self-compassion. He encourages us to become our own cheerleaders, to focus on our strengths and past successes, and to reframe those negative thoughts into more positive and empowering ones.
So instead of beating ourselves up for procrastinating, we should be practicing self-kindness and focusing on building our self-belief. That's a much more supportive and sustainable approach.
Absolutely. And he also talks about the power of visualization. By imagining ourselves successfully completing a task, we can actually rewire our brains to feel more confident and motivated to take action.
That's fascinating. It's like we're creating a mental blueprint for success. And I love how he emphasizes that overcoming procrastination is a journey, not a destination. We're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for progress.
Exactly. There will be days when we slip up, when those old procrastination habits creep back in. But the key is to not get discouraged. It's about acknowledging those setbacks, learning from them, and getting back on track.
This is such a refreshing perspective. It's not about being a productivity robot. It's about understanding our own patterns, practicing self-compassion, and continuously working towards building healthier habits. This has been so insightful. I'm already feeling more equipped to tackle my own procrastination habits. But before we wrap up, Damon Zahariades throws in a few bonus tactics that I found really intriguing. I'm particularly curious about this idea of temptation bundling. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure, it's a brilliant strategy that leverages the power of positive reinforcement. Essentially, you pair a task you dread with an activity you genuinely enjoy.
Okay, I need an example. This sounds like something I could really benefit from.
Let's say you hate folding laundry, but you love listening to true crime podcasts. Temptation bundling would be allowing yourself to listen to those podcasts only while you're folding laundry.
That's genius.
Mhm.
You're turning something you dread into a reward for doing something you enjoy. I'm already thinking about all the ways I can apply this to my own life.
Exactly. It's a way to make those mundane tasks a little more appealing. And another bonus tactic he mentions is the power of delegation.
Sometimes the best way to conquer a task is to not do it at all right.
Precisely. If a task can be delegated to someone else, consider outsourcing it. Think about those tasks that consistently drain your energy and motivation. Maybe it's mowing the lawn, doing your taxes, or managing your social media accounts.
It's like giving yourself permission to focus on your strengths and let go of those tasks that don't align with your skills or interests. And it frees up your time and energy for the things that truly matter to you.
Exactly. And remember, delegation isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strategic move to optimize your time and resources.
This deep dive has been packed with so many valuable insights and practical strategies. As we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listener will remember from this exploration of the procrastination cure?
I'd say the most important message is this. Procrastination is not a fixed personality trait. It's a habit. And habits can be changed. By understanding the psychology behind procrastination and applying the right strategies, we can all break free from those procrastination patterns and achieve our goals.
That's so empowering. And Damon Zahariades leaves us with this thought-provoking question. What one task will you eat tomorrow morning to kickstart your day? Remember that eat the frog technique. Imagine that feeling of accomplishment you'll have after conquering that task first thing.
It's a great way to set the tone for a productive and fulfilling day.
We've explored a lot of external strategies for managing procrastination, but I loved that point you made earlier about the importance of meaning and purpose. Can you elaborate on that a bit more for our listener?
Well, think about it. How often do we truly procrastinate on tasks that light us up, that align with our values and passions? When we're engaged in work that feels meaningful, procrastination tends to melt away.
It's like we tap into a natural source of motivation when we're doing work that feels aligned with our purpose. So I guess the takeaway here is to not just work smarter, but to work on things that truly matter to us.
Exactly. And as you continue on your procrastination busting journey, take some time to reflect on the bigger picture. What are your core values? What kind of work brings you joy and a sense of fulfillment?
Because when you find that alignment between your efforts and your passions, procrastination becomes less of a battle and more of a natural flow.
You'll be amazed at what you can accomplish when you're driven by a sense of purpose.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the procrastination cure. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and practical strategies for tackling procrastination in your own life. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and keep experimenting until you find what works best for you.
And never underestimate the power of self-belief.